let me introduce you to our next speaker for today. His name is Vignesh. Now, Vignesh is a customer experience designer. It's not a UI, not UX, customer experience designer. This is the package Ajit was talking about. See, I told his name correct now. With over 10 years of experience, he likes to meet new people and he has developed a liking towards user research to understand user needs before even arriving at a solution. I assume he likes interrogating people, but I'll give it a name of user research. So today, Vignesh is on his journey and he definitely believes that usability and customer experience is a part of life and how applying its principle will help us as individuals move forward in our life. All right. So Vignesh is going to talk about how usability is omnipresent in all of our lives. So Vignesh, there you go.
Thanks a lot for everyone who kind of participated and who have been listening patiently for close to 3 hours. So I think it's a very good initiative, and I'm kind of excited that there are a lot of students, and these people are the future, right? So I just wanted to kind of give a very casual talk. So it's kind of not going to be anything technical or some stuff like that. So it's just gonna be how I kind of learned the roots of design, and how I kind of got the experience, and I how I evolved the UX process, and I kind of work in a certain process. So I'll just talk about that. So I'll just quickly share my screen. So just let me know when you guys are able to see it. Okay, cool. So it's a very simple presentation. Like I told you, it's going to be very casual. So I think it'll be interesting. So I hope it'll be interesting, right? So I'm just going to take a few examples from the day-to-day life, right? So I'll give you three examples, and as a loyal Vijay fan, right? So I'll try to kind of knit it as a Kuti story. So let's start, right? So I believe in the this concept of storytelling, right? Like Ajit mentioned. So that's a very powerful tool, and that is one of the mantras I follow in my day-to-day life for each and everything, right? So not alone for my presentations or for my design reviews and stuff like that, right? So I firmly believe that everything, if it has a story, then it'll kind of easily connect with the audience. So I'll kind of start with a fictional story. So it's similar to what is happening right now, right? So we as speakers, or people who want to learn, because everyone is a teacher, and also they kind of learn from all their talks and their works, right? So let's assume that there's a design institute in which a very interesting tutor, right? So he has his own way of teaching people. So what he has his own methods, and a new batch comes in, and he kind of wants to make them understand the principle of UX via examples. So that's his thought process, or that's the way he teaches. It's kind of more examples, more projects and stuff like that, rather than classroom training. So what he does is, I'll give you three examples in which you can kind of relate to this topic, where every experience, right? Whatever place we go. So for example, if we go to a coffee shop, if we go to a supermarket, or if we go to a cinema theater, so every experience, right? So everything is customer experience, right? So we as customer, we go to different places. There is a particular experience we get in each and every place, which can be good or bad. So I'll kind of, that is my whole concept, and I'll kind of relate to how you can use that, or use that process in your work life. So this tutor, what he did, right? So first day, he kind of asked, he gave an assignment to design people, or who design students who don't know about any UX process, or any design process, right? So he gave a very simple a task. So he asked them to kind of design an app, or come up with features for let's say a shopping experience, right? So let's assume he gave an example or he gave a task to kind of come up with a product which can do in which they can do online shopping for a number of things like groceries or stuff like that. So this was the task that was given to the students. So he did not educate them, he did not give any training. This was the task that that he gave. And the next day, right, so what the students, so I'm just taking an example of one student, right? So typically what he everyone will not know the process though. So what that person did, right? So let's take his name as Ramesh, right? So what he did was, Ramesh, he kind of took inspiration from all the other similar products, right? So let's say like Flipkart, Amazon, or whatever, Swiggy, Genie, or stuff like that. So he kind of came up with a similar product and he kind of showcased it to him. So I'm just moving to the slide, so I'll kind of talk about this later. So at first he did not kind of learn anything, he just took some inspiration, he kind of copied from a lot of apps and he kind of pasted it and presented it. So that was how everyone in the team kind of did their work, because there was no training given to them. And the tutor, he did not tell anything, he kind of did not give comments to the designs and stuff like that. So that was it, he did not talk a word, he kind of noted all the points in one book. And the next day or the same day, what he gave, or the related assignment that he gave was, right, so he asked people to go to an actual supermarket or actual coffee shop or an actual place where they can buy this stuff. Okay, so he asked them to go there, observe things, talk to people, talk to customers, talk to the people who own that shop or whoever they can talk to, right? So he kind of asked them to do this activity, and all the people kind of went ahead and did this activity. So Ramesh, right, so we'll just focus on that person. So he went to multiple supermarkets like Nilgiris and whatever brands that you can think of, right? So uh, he kind of found a lot of things. I'll just talk about one concept or one particular section which he found very interesting. So that was near the checkout, right? So near the checkout, like you see in the picture, right, there are a lot of items, like you might see chocolates in some shops, you might be seeing a lot of batteries or a lot of electronic related stuffs, or kind of add-ons that people keep in the store while checkout, right? So he kind of noticed that as an interesting point. He kind of noticed that in multiple shops. Okay, so in each and every shop, that was a kind of an interesting factor for him. So what he did was, the next day he kind of tweaked this design, and he kind of added you are able to see the screen on the right hand side, right? So I was trying to order in Swiggy, I ordered a noodle, and suddenly an option came saying a mini samosa. So I was not sure how that came in, but what this was a feature, or imagine this as a feature or a small enhancement that Ramesh kind of made by seeing the real world example, right? So that was what he did. He did not he just changed the design or introduced this small thing. One of the things that he introduced was this small add-on that he did. So what did he do? It's a very interesting observation. So before going to that particular supermarket, right, he did not have this feature, so it did not have this. And after going to the supermarket, what he did was, he kind of mapped the checkout process in the app, and whatever items they saw here, right, the random items, he started suggesting random items to people. So this is the one step, or it's a step in the right direction, but I'll tell you how this also can be enhanced. So the tutor, right, so he kind of noticed this point, and he asked everyone, or he asked Ramesh specifically what he did. So he told that, I observed, I found this as an interesting piece everywhere, and that's the reason I added this particular feature, is what his answer was. So the tutor appreciated this particular point, but he kind of asked Ramesh to go one step forward, right? So The next day he asked him to talk to the people there, talk to different people in different supermarkets, and he asked Ramesh to kind of come up with an enhanced feature or stuff like that, right? So what Ramesh did was he kind of went to different grocery shops, but he did not find an interesting pattern. So he observed that everywhere there is the same thing. There are random things placed, and there is one shop where he went in the previous day. He went in the morning. He saw a lot of things like milk packets and stuff like that, and it was Christmas time, so he went during the night, and he it was interesting to him that that particular milk packet was not there, and a lot of other stuff were there related to the Christmas celebration. So he that particular point was very interesting to him. He kind of talked to a lot of people there. He asked the person at the counter, saying, "What is this? Today morning you had a different item here while checking out, and at the evening you are having something else. So what is the trend, or how do you what is the reason behind this?" Right? So he kind of answered that person. He told that we studied what is kind of selling in our in our particular supermarket, right? So they told that people come here to buy a lot of milk products and stuff like that. So what they're telling is, at the morning we'll kind of help our customers by giving milk, because it's at the earlier stage, it's at the entrance, right? Or if people forget to buy milk while coming at the checkout, they'll realize that, okay, so I forgot to take the milk, so I'll kind of pick up from here, right? So they're customizing that space based on their audience, based on the customer that is coming in. They are studying their buying pattern. They are also placing related items, like in the morning people need milk, so I'll place that. And they are also placing items like jam or bread that kind of go together, right? So if people buy a bread, they come here and they might realize that, okay, I also need a jam, so I'll kind of pick up. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everyone. So it's additional business for them, and also it's helping the customer, right? Because they're changing the products based on the time, based on the needs of the customer, based on the season, because at evening times people come and buy for Christmas decoration items, right? So they are kind of studying the pattern of the buying pattern and everything, and they are customizing the things based on that, right? So this is an interesting point that Ramesh found out, and he kind of told the same thing to his tutor, and his tutor was very happy, right? So this is what I think even I think everyone would like to do, right? So in this feature or any feature or anything, right? So anything that you give should have some sort of a meaning or a purpose, right? So there is a lot of business aspects to each and every, even if you place a particular box or a dot, right? So there should be a purpose in it. So you should not say that, okay, this design has it, or this company's design has it, and I'm kind of putting the same thing here. So if that is the thing, you can't kind of sell your design. But if you have done your research, or if you have done your proper demographic analysis, because the tutor, what he's doing, right? So he's kind of educating the students the design process without even telling them that's the design process, right? So we are going there, we are doing a contextual inquiry, we are studying the premises of the user. So this is how you kind of educate people, right? So we need to kind of experience the power of the design process, right? So we have to kind of say, we have to experience the process in order to educate other people, and we have to kind of feel the power of it, right? Because Ramesh, first day he did not have this feature. Second day, with minimal research, just by looking, he added this. He had a point. He had why did he add it? He had his own point, right? And third day, he talked to a few users, he talked to the people and understood the trend and everything, and he kind of enhanced his design, right? So if you tell a story like this, it will be easy to sell your design, and it should be helpful for the user. So how did Ramesh achieve this? He kind of went into the real world. He observed what he, even if he's going for a shopping, or even if you go for a normal activity, if you observe the things around you, ask a lot of questions as to why a particular object is placed somewhere in a hotel or in anywhere, right? So if you ask a lot of questions, you will get a lot of problems and also ways to solve it. And there was one particular person who asked a question: how can we kind of these talks are kind of related to people at a higher level and stuff like that, right? So if you don't get some such opportunities in your office, right, so what you can do is you can just look for problems in the real world like this and kind of try solving them, right? So I'm moving on to the next slide, and I'll focus on a problem that is very much relevant in the real world, right? So we'll kind of take the same tutor example, and the next assignment that he gave to his people was he asked them to go to a big apparel shop. So for example, if you can take the example of lifestyle or west side and stuff like that, so he asked them to go there and shop for a lot of things and come back within a particular point of time, right? 30 minutes, or he kind of asked them to go there and he gave them a time in order to do a particular shopping. So it was, the time was very limited, it was 20 minutes and stuff like that. He took them to the store and he asked them to shop for a couple of things, and most of them were not able to complete the shopping because of this typical problem that we have in our day-to-day life, right? We have a lot of queue. So we have to go to the shop, or we are at the shop and we have to kind of select our product. We'll have to try it out, or if it's an apparel, we have to try it out. And at the end of the day, while you go for a billing, there is a huge queue, right? So that is a very important element here. So that metric is called time, right? So we have done our shopping, everything is done, but still I'm not able to get that product, right? So I have to pay for that, and then only that product is mine and I've completed my whole shopping experience and stuff like that, right? So I think these sort of problems kind of led to the evolution of online shopping and stuff like that. So that's people kind of saw this as a problem, and that's how they kind of invented all these kind of methods to do shopping, right? So the tutor, right? So since nobody was able to kind of complete the task, so next, that same tutor, he kind of brought them to a very smaller shop. Let's say it's a fruit shop or whatever road shop, right? So he kind of gave them the same time, 20 minutes, and asked them to buy the same stuff, right? So example, he went to a very street side apparel shop, and there was only one person, right? So they can kind of take that cloth, they can't try it, but they can kind of take that cloth, and there's only one person. You can just pay to that person, and everyone were done within the stipulated time, right? So let's kind of look into the details of this, right? So we have a process tied to everything, right? Because in bigger shops, because the place is bigger, they have a lot of roles. They have a person dedicated for at the other end, right? So they'll kind of show the clothes and stuff like that. There's a person for billing and there's a person for delivery. So it's what my perspective is, they have made a very simple process very kind of unoptimized and stuff like that, right? So they've broken it down into multiple steps, and they've made a simple process very big, right? So the same process in a roadside shop, right? So there's one person, the same person shows you the clothes, the same person, we can kind of give the change or whatever. You can do a digital payment or stuff like that, and boom, you're done. So the same process is kind of different in different places, right? So what the tutor was trying to tell is, so there is this problem, right? So this problem of queue and stuff like that can be solved using this simple example, that real life example that he gave, right? So it's the same experience, or you can't kind of try it, but the process is same, but it's kind of optimized, right? In a simple environment, it's kind of very simple and it's very fast, right? So sometimes to solve complex problems, right, you have to kind of think in simple terms. So that's why I feel that even going to a roadside shop, right? So kind of helps. So one quick example of how I can tie this, right? So imagine you had the person who is kind of showing the apparels, right? So if he had any sort of device which can kind of scan the price, or using the price tag and generate a bill and kind of accept payment, right? So there's no need of a queue or a separate delivery section itself, right? So they can kind of minimize their workforce, they can minimize their if there's no delivery section, they can use that space for additionally showing the more apparels or stuff like that, right? So everything can be optimized, right? So their workforce can be made minimal, everyone can be can kind of do different jobs, right? They can show the clothes, they can do the billing, they can accept payment, and everything goes to a single system, right? So I think that is one such way in which you can kind of think to solve complex problems, right? So go out, explore, and think of map these simple ideas to your office examples or whatever, right? So just identify the problems, try to solve these real world problems. So because if you have this thinking, right, so naturally that will become your thought process, and even while you're working, you will ask a lot of questions, you will observe a lot of things, you would want to know how you would want to optimize this process, make it simple and stuff like that. So, and the final example that I'm going to give is a pretty interesting one, right? So how many of you have noticed this point, right? So when you go to a mall, the theaters are at the topmost floor, right? So does anyone know why this is so? Everywhere it's the same thing, right? So if you go in Chennai and Bangalore, around the world, this is a universal concept, right? So it's not by fluke. It's by the design of how they how they want us to do a shopping, or how they want us to experience everything, right? So imagine the basement, right, where you park the vehicle, it's at the bottom, and the way you come up, the trick starts from there. At malls you will see the elevators are always hidden, so they want you to use the escalators, they don't want us to use the elevators, because they want you to see the different shops that are there in the mall, right? Even if you're not coming for doing any purchase, because I only go to malls only for movies, right? So I go park my vehicle at the basement, and I know where that hidden lift is, right? So I use that, directly go up and see the movies, and I'm done. But since it gets overcrowded, people use escalators and stuff like that. And imagine a family of 3 or 4 going, right? So there are small kids, and they'll kind of see a lot of stuff, they'll look at Hamleys, they look at a lot of other shops, they'll kind of pester their parents to kind of do some shopping, right? So that is what the people at the mall want us to do. So even while going to another job or going to a completely different task, they want us to observe the different shops, so that they kind of induce us to do a shopping that we don't want, right? So this is a one common pattern that we notice in malls. And also if you notice, for example, in EA, right, the in the front entrance, when you enter the right side, the first shop is Hamleys, right? So they kind of that is the shop which I would definitely know that shop has a very high rent, right? Because but they can afford it, because that's a very prime spot. And once you enter, a lot of family crowd will come, and it will grab the attention of the children, right? So each and every shop at the mall has a specific rate, because it is present in a kind of a prime area. So, and another architectural example of a mall is at the center, it's kind of empty everywhere. So that is also a business tactic or an architectural gimmick that they want us to do. So because at the center, you'll be able to see all the shops there, right? So even the shops that are visible from the center has a higher rent. So why I'm kind of quoting these examples is the tutor kind of asked them to brought them to the mall, gave them the same speech, and the next day what was the topic is information architecture, right? So why he kind of asked the next day why the topic was information architecture is, each and every screen or each and every feature in your product has its own amount of importance, right? So there are some features that you want the users to see upfront. There are some screens that you want the users to not see, right? So that can also be a business tactic, but it it cannot be customer friendly always, but you should make it customer friendly, right? Because I know in some products the promo code and everything that they might be hidden, because that might be the business goal of that particular product, right? So but somewhere else, if the business goal is to increase the number of customers, then that promo code section will be big and a lot of banners will be shown saying that okay, we are running a lot of deals and stuff like that. So whatever things you place on the screen or place on homepage, everything has its importance. Like how these shops in a mall have importance, and you want the users to do a shopping like this or an experience like this, right? So it's kind of the information architecture is very important, that it's similar to the blueprint of our house, right? So everything has a designated spot, everything has an importance and stuff like that. So uh, before you do an information architecture activity, right? So try to kind of analyze all these things when you go next to a mall or stuff like that, right? So I just want to want to tell one thing to the aspiring designers, right? So it's just it's not a work, our job, right? It's not, it doesn't end from 9 to 8 or stuff like that, right? So I would want you guys to think about customer experience as a way of life, right? So it kind of starts from early morning, how we kind of go to office, commute to office and stuff like that, right? So there are various problems that are there in the real world, so try to observe them and try to kind of note each and every problem and how you can kind of solve it. You can kind of discuss it as a group and stuff like that, because a lot of problems or a lot of startups have started like that, right? So you might know a lot of examples of how Oyo Room started, how other startups kind of started, right? So they kind of took all these real world problems and they kind of tried finding a solution to it. So like even Ajit was telling, right? So keep the customers at the center, listen to them, try to find out what their actual problem is through user research or going to their particular space and talking to them a lot. Try to observe things even before you do that, before going to the UX process. Try to make that UX process in your day-to-day life. So if it is there in your day-to-day life, it will be very smooth. The transition into your office work will also be kind of very smooth, right? So that is the takeaway that I want the future generation to have. So thanks a lot, Saha and everyone, for the time. So I think it was very simple. I did not want to kind of go that much technical and stuff like that. So if you guys have any question, I'll be happy to answer.